what's going on? Welcome to another live edition of Real Fans, Real Talk. We back, man. I know. My co-host looks a little bit different today than he normally does, but that's only because the Legend of Two Games is late this week. He had to work late, and I did tell you guys we were gonna have a special guest with us this week. Well, technically, I told y'all last we was gonna have a special guest, but Maxwell did send in that video just to update you guys and let y'all know that he would be joining us this week. And we got a lot to talk about. I see all the questions is coming in. So without any further ado, let me introduce to you guys pro basketball player, Harlem Globe Trotter. And I think I don't know, this might be the biggest accomplishment. The only two-time Ballin for Peace, Real Fizz, Real Talk Slam Dunk Contest champion. Maxwell Pearce is back with the Real Fans, Real Talk family. What's going on, man?
My guy, it's good to be back, bro. I appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I figured out what the technical difficulties was. My AC was on, giving me a little static right there.
Oh, okay. Oh, good.
All right, now we good. But yeah, man, welcome back to Real Fans, Real Talk. It's been a while, but it only fitting. You are now not only the first ever Ballin for Peace Slam Dunk champion, but you are now the only two-time Ballin for Peace Slam Dunk champion. Haran was telling me, he was like, man, we got to get these guys to come back and defend their titles because they just be winning and then they don't come back and defend.
They don't come back.
Will you be back next year to the title?
I will, because I want to get, I think 3 is the magic number. So if I can get to 3, I will be happy.
I'll put you in the Ballin for Peace Slam Dunk Hall of Fame.
I would be happy about that. I'll be happy about 3 times. My dunk inspiration, Nate Robinson, only 3-time champion in the NBA. So yeah, I will be back next year to defend and get this third.
Now talk to me, update me a little bit about what's going on with you right now. I know you're doing a lot of traveling, but talk to me. I guess we'll start with the Globetrotters and everything that you have going on with one of the most iconic basketball teams ever.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're in the off season, so it's been nice because I've been able to work on my other stuff, which is art. So I'm doing a lot of art shows in the off season. So I'm going to do one at the end of the summer, then probably one at the beginning of the fall. I haven't done an art show in New York yet, so I'm trying to figure out when I can have my official homecoming art show. I've done a few in Miami, I've done one in LA. I'm getting ready to do one in Louisville, Kentucky in like a month. So it'll be nice to finally, get a chance to give back to New York for putting all that they put into me. But yeah, Globetrotter wise, it's the off season right now. So I am rehabbing a little ankle issue that has been growing over the last 4 years. I sprained my ankle really bad, and I thought initially that it was just a sprain, but it was a sprain, but it's a grade 3 sprain, which means that it was a tear. And so I did not get the proper medical attention for it. So I'm probably going to get a surgery on my left ankle, which is the ankle that I jump and land off of this off season. So should be good to go by the time the next Globetrotter season rolls around.
Okay, I'm about to say, and by the time the next Ballin for Peace dunk contest comes around,
yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. I'm making sure that I do it in a time where nothing is really going on.
Okay, now you mentioned your art. Let me go to one of these questions here. Shout out to Latina. She says, how did you get into art and when did you start taking it serious?
So I think 3rd grade is when I started when I got really passionate about creating artwork. I had a really good art teacher in my school, and she had this assignment where we were supposed to submit photos or sketches that we thought might be able to be the cover of the yearbook. And somehow mine got selected. And that's what I refer to as like my first commission piece. And ever since then, I've been like really eager to create new art and allow other people to see it. So I think I started to take it serious in the sense of it being like having a professional approach to it in 2020. We were all inside during the pandemic. I also had an incident where when I finally spoke out about the experience, I got a lot of like racist backlash, and I was like, I'm going to use my art to further express all the things that I want to say. So at that point is when I decided that I'm going to take this thing professional and start to show it and actually sell work. So it's in like my third year, taking it professionally, but it's always been serious to me.
The show that you did in Miami. Now, was that a part of Art Basel?
So it was for Art Basel, but it was at a different gallery.
Okay.
So the gallery that I did the first show at is called Anamdi Contemporary. It is in Little Haiti in Miami. I did a solo show there. That was my inaugural show. So that was my first show ever, for a collection that I have called The Art of an Athlete. And then 2023, I went back during Art Basel, and I was a part of an art fair called Prism Art Fair, PRIZM, and I showed, it was either 2 pieces or 4 pieces there. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I got a chance to be a part of that fair as well. And then I think, yeah, those are my only 2 exhibitions in Miami so far. So it's been during Art Basel every single year.
What's that? Usually it's my phone going off, so I'm glad it wasn't my phone.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Let me go to another one of these questions. Shout out to Pooh. Pooh says, Maxwell, so you were real shy as a kid. Why? How did you get over being shy?
That's a that's a good question. Honestly, I feel like with the combination of how my life has progressed with the addition of like having a presence on social media, being able to go into different spaces as a basketball player, especially for the Harlem Globe Trotters, and having to speak to hundreds of kids at a time or speak on TV. I think a lot of those reps in scenarios like that got me to realize that like it's not as bad as I thought it was as a kid. Because as a kid, I was afraid to raise my hand and answer a question in class, and I knew everybody in the classroom. But now I'm speaking in front of 700-800 kids that I just met 30 minutes ago, or I'm doing like I've been on Good Morning America, I've been on Sports Center, like all of the big platforms that I grew up watching. I've gotten a chance to actually appear and speak on. So I think once you do one and you realize it's not so bad, then it's a lot easier to retain the confidence that, yeah, I can continue to do this.
I'm gonna go to Justin. Eric just texted me. He's on his way home now. He's gonna try to get on the
Okay.
live with us tonight. But I wanted to pull this question up. Shout out to Justin Frizione. The question is for Eric, but I want you to talk about this because obviously he was there at the Hoops in the Sun. He assisted on a dunk by you. Or they asked him what does Eric remember about that? But Max, what do you remember about that dunk?
So that's a dunk that it's probably one of my favorite dunks to do. It's one of the dunks that I've been the most creative with in my career as a like a dunker or whatever however you want to label it. Um, but it's a dunk where I had Eric hold the ball out and I run up and then I grab it out his hand and I do it between the legs, and I punch it. That was also the dunk that I was going to do in the final round of the college dunk contest, but I lost by like 0.2 of a point. So I lost in the semifinals, and I came in third as a result. But yeah, that dunk definitely stays with me. So I've done a lot of variations of that. I've done 2 different variations with a baseball. One is like I have a baseball glove in the left hand. I grab it out of the person's hand with the baseball glove, transfer it to my non-glove hand, and I catch a baseball directly in front of me. And then the other version of it is, I guess, trying to like catch a baseball behind my back. And then I
And you won that one too as well.
say that again.
You won that dunk contest too as well.
In college.
No, the one that Hoops in the Sun with that dunk over Eric.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I did.
that dunk because again, first of all, shout out to Joe and Randy Cruz over at Hoops in the Sun. Those are our
Yeah.
guys. You got to get over to the beach before the summer is out. But it's always dope. And if you guys know, obviously that dunk was impactful for us because we put that in the intro of the show. So y'all get to see that dunk every time the show comes on. So that's a part of Real Fans Real Talk history
Right.
right there. When Eric gets on, if he is able to get on before we close out, I'm gonna pull that question back up so he can talk
Sure.
about it.
His
Um,
perspective.
Let me go to Hoop Baller Scoop. He says, "Hey Max, talk about that experience on live TV in Birmingham, Alabama, for those who don't know."
Um, so that was probably the most impactful experience in my life. What essentially happened was in 2020, I was doing an interview for an upcoming Globetrotter game, and it was in Birmingham, Alabama, and these news anchors started throwing fruit at me like unexpectedly. Two of them were a tangerine, and then the final piece of fruit that was thrown was a banana. And so, for anybody who doesn't know, there's a long history of throwing bananas at black athletes and the racial implications behind it. And so, I was already aware of that. And so, when it happened, I caught the banana. I was in such shock. And then, I got the video from the internet just so that I had my proof if I ever wanted to speak about it publicly. I tried to handle it behind the scenes. They didn't want to cooperate, so I essentially put out my own version of the experience, which is the full truth from start to finish. And it was a really informational video about how we could learn from this thing that continues to happen to black athletes in hockey and soccer and basketball. So put together this 5-minute video. I didn't curse anybody out, and when I posted it, it started to go viral with like TMZ, CNN, Washington Post, AP, and I just got a bunch of like death threats for like 2 months from people from Birmingham, people telling me to shut up and dribble, and I guess it was in that influx of everybody telling me to shut up and dribble that I was like, I'm going to use my ability to create art to further my point that I had already been making. So I created a collection of art called The Art of an Athlete, which highlights athletes who use their platform. And that all was born out of this experience in Birmingham. And then I think this is such a timely question because this weekend, well, yesterday, I had my engagement party with my fiance, who is a news anchor. She's a black news anchor. And the way that we met was through this experience in Birmingham because we have a mutual friend who shared my post. And so if I didn't, people didn't throw this fruit at me on live TV, then I probably would have never met my soon to be wife. So it's
Let me
crazy. Silver
let me
lining.
I'm laughing because of the question. So we got a couple of the ladies that support the show. They be a part of the messy section of the show. But this is the question they asked while you were talking. Max, they called me and Imani the messy chicks because we will ask the no holds bar questions. So are you married or engaged? My question is, how does she know she's the one? You still get the butterflies.
It's a good question. Because I think it's always nice to hear other people's perspectives on how do you know that your person is your person. For me, it was probably. I mean, we're in our third year of our relationship now, and we had been going back and forth with each other for a year prior to when we made it official. So I would say maybe like 2 years ago, I already got that feeling. We share the same morals. We have a lot of the same passions. Um, we both have very similar ambition. Um, she most of the growth that I've been able to experience as a person has been in my relationship with her. And so, just to be able to I'll be 28 on Tuesday. And so to, have considerable amount of growth in the first 25 years of my life, and then suddenly almost been able to double that growth, especially mentally within this relationship, it just facilitates so many good things. And so, I'm very grateful to have found her, even though it was through a terrible experience. But that's just a short list of reasons why I know that she is the one. And then also, yes, I absolutely still get butterflies. I got crazy butterflies yesterday during the engagement party. So
It's big, man. Congratulations on that, man. That's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Um, Shout out to Ron. I see we're gonna talk Bronny a little bit later in the show. We're gonna get Maxwell's thoughts on Bronny James getting drafted to the Lakers, and we will talk about the Duke situation with Flip. But I'm gonna go to Xavier Andrews' question. Max, how was the early years of your life? Where did you grow up? Any siblings?
Early years of my life, somebody said it in a question earlier. I was a shy kid. I always loved sports. I think my personality as a shy kid who was really non-confrontational kind of interfered with my identity as a player in sports early on. So it took a little while for me to be able to separate who I am as a person versus who I am as a player. And that at that point is when I started to get a little bit more aggressive, especially in basketball. Um, but I have two siblings. I'm the oldest of three kids. My brother is 7 years younger than me. My sister is 2 years younger than me. We all played sports. My sister ran track at Cornell University. My brother plays basketball at Emory University. We all grew up playing multiple sports. I grew up playing basketball, tennis, football, baseball, and cross country. My sister played basketball and she ran track. My brother played lacrosse for 1 year, played football and basketball. He had some college football interests as well, but he didn't want to play both in college. He just wanted to do one, so he stuck with basketball. So, I think us all being able to sharpen each other as athletes growing up, especially my brother probably got the biggest benefit of it because he was competing against me and my friends, people who are for the majority of his childhood were bigger, stronger, faster, smarter, all of that. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun, like just growing up, being able to do all of the things that I love and know that my siblings love pretty much the same.
Let me ask you this, Max. Is your brother a dunker as well? And if he is, who has the higher vertical?
My brother, my brother is not really a dunker. He can dunk. He's not really a dunker, but I'm not gonna lie on here. He's better than me.
As a
Um,
as a player or
as a
okay.
Yeah. He's doing really well. He's about to go into his junior year. Um, so you can't have everything. So I definitely think that he doesn't even really need to be a dunker. He could shoot the lights out. He could score. He's a point guard.
Okay.
But it's one of my favorite things in the world to go watch my little brother play. Like I will, if I can make the trip, I'll make the trip. I've been able to go to more than half of his games in college thus far, even though I live in Ohio and he goes to school in Atlanta. Um, that kid can hoop.
Okay. We got to check him out. Let me see what we got up here. Shout out to Kyrie Thompson. Did you play any sport? Well, you kind of answered that a little bit. Did you play any sports in grade school and middle school? Talk about your time at Purchase College.
So yeah, I can go a little bit more into detail. So in grade school and middle school, I started out playing tennis, and that was a little bit more recreationally with my sister, my grandmother. Um, wasn't good at it. Didn't like it at the time, and so I picked up a basketball, and I was like, oh, I'm never putting this down. So basketball stuck with me from probably fourth grade on. I played football in seventh grade. I was a left guard. I just want to throw that out there. I was a left guard. You see me in person, Trip. You know how skinny I am, and I have no business being on the line. Then after that, started baseball. Um, I really enjoyed playing in the outfield. I played left field and center field majority of the time. Pitched a little bit. Wasn't a good pitcher. Then once I got to high school, I started cross country because I originally just wanted to do it to get in shape for basketball season. And I turned out to be like much better than I anticipated because I don't enjoy running. I don't just enjoy plain running. Um, but I did well. I think maybe I set like one or two freshman records at the school. And I decided that I was going to do it again my sophomore year. So during my sophomore year, I had a teammate who was the son of the Wisconsin cross country head coach at the time. Um, and I remember receiving an invitation to come on like a recruitment trip for Wisconsin cross country, but I already knew that was never going to work because I don't like running. I didn't like running as it was in high school. In college, you would have had to run 5, 8 times more. So I knew that was going to have to be my last year of cross country because it was a little too much. So that's a little bit of my sports background. And then once I got to Purchase, it was solely basketball. I didn't focus on anything else. I actually transferred into Purchase. So I went to a school called Fredonia State my freshman year of college. And then I realized that I don't want to be here. I'm going to transfer. So I went to Purchase. And Purchase is where I discovered that I could establish some kind of social media platform. So in the summer of 2016 or 16, I dunked on one of my best friends and the video went viral. And that video alone, the response showed me the power of social media. So from that point on, I was like, okay, I'm just going to try and use my access to Purchase College's gym to do all these new dunk videos and try new dunks and continue to grow my platform. And it got to the point where I was able to do the college dunk contest because the sports information director at Purchase nominated me to get on the, I guess it's like the ballot for the voting to get into the college slam dunk contest. And so that's ultimately how I got into the college dunk contest. If I didn't go to Purchase, that probably would not have happened.
Okay. Let me ask you this: the first time you dunked on somebody in a game, when was it, and what was the reaction,
Um,
and who
so
was it?
to be clear, to the first time I dunked on somebody, not just dunked in a game.
And I just dunked in, but on
On somebody.
someone.
Okay. It was actually at Purchase. Um, it was against, ironically, it was against a kid that I grew up playing against. Um, I know his first name is Ahmad. I don't remember his last name. I also, if even if I knew his last name, I wouldn't put his last name out there. But um, it was against our rival school my sophomore year, which was my first year at Purchase. Um, but the game just started, so maybe it was like 40 seconds into the game, and they shot a three. It was a long rebound. I was running the sideline on the right side. My point guard threw an outlet pass to me. I caught it. I think I took 2 dribbles, and then I really like didn't even see him. Like I was just focused on like, okay, I know I have enough space to dunk this, so I'm just gonna punch it. And that was one of the hardest times that was one of the hardest dunks that I've ever done in my life. It was just a cock back right here, and I think he tried to take a charge. But he didn't fall to take the charge. So like my knees were in like this area.
So it looked
Um,
bad.
Punched it. I just punched it.
Um,
It did look bad, but that was the first time.
Now, did he have to sit down? Because in the M1 mixtape days, you got to sit there, you got to go to the bench and somebody dunk on you like that.
Nah, he actually was one of their best players.
Okay.
He was a good player. So,
Yeah.
you know, good players, they don't really get phased that much. I don't really think he was phased, even though it was a pretty bad dunk. I don't think he was really phased. So shout out to Ahmad.
All right. Let me see. Let me go to Ron. Shout out to Ron Charles. We're gonna take the Bronny question after this one, Ron. I know we got a lot of questions. I see the questions still coming in. We're gonna get to all the questions. Don't worry. How did you chance in becoming a Globetrotter? Did you know their history before?
So so first of all, yes, I knew the history of the Globetrotters prior to getting a chance. I think it's hard to not hear about the Globetrotters, especially if you grow up around sports, because the Globetrotters have been around for almost 100 years. Um, the College Slam Dunk Contest on ESPN was the event that got me recruited by the Globetrotters. So I don't know if it was, I think it was one of their scouts that was watching on TV. And so I had a really good showing. I didn't win though. So I guess they called my school and left a message for me. So when I got back to campus, maybe like a week later, that message was just waiting there for me to call the Globetrotters back. So if it wasn't for that college dunk contest, I would not have been on the Globetrotters. And I think that's like one of the best parts of my story as an athlete, because it just shows that you don't have to win. You don't have to average 30. You don't have to win. You could still get there. So that's the thing that I always like to share with people.
Absolutely. All right, let me come back up top here. Shout out to Ron, first one in the chat today. Thoughts on Bronny becoming a Laker? Great for him, but thought it was foul. The Lakers let Rich and Bronny basically run the Lakers, and Bron got his coach again. Love it for the kid. Um, I love it for the kid as well. And I hear everybody out here, all because it stems from the LeBron hate, right? So I hear everybody talking, oh, it was nepotism. They did this and they did that. First of all, this ain't the first time that somebody that got their son or their
Yeah,
brother
that's what I
or
was going to say.
member onto a team, right? You got three guys in the league right now, or if they're still in the league, named Antetokounmpo, that should not be on any roster right now, but they are all on a team thanks to Giannis. You want to go back? I mean, we all praised J.R. Smith when he got Chris Smith that contract with the Knicks. I don't think he should have been there. George Carl drafted him, Kobe Carl. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
it's true.
this is something that happens, but because LeBron's name is involved, it's gonna be a big deal, and you know that the haters are gonna come out. But I'm very happy for Bronny and for LeBron. Something legendary, another milestone in his career, being the first ever father son duo to play on the same team
Right.
in the NBA. We saw Griffey and his dad did it in Major League Baseball. But Maxwell, what were your thoughts on Bronny being drafted, and I guess Braun and Rich Paul playing bully ball with the league?
So first of all, I agree. I feel the same way about the nepotism, like to what you said, Trip. Nepotism been around forever, and it's not even just in basketball. I think thinking from a broader perspective, especially as a black person, like we've gotten the short end of the stick of nepotism in the world for so long,
Mhm.
to non-black people. We've lost out on jobs and opportunities millions and millions and millions of times for the last I don't know how many years. Um, so anytime a black person is able to leverage their um, position and especially if this is a position that LeBron earned, by the way, like
Yeah.
he's given 20 plus years to the league. Um, so anytime a person of color is able to do that, I'm always in favor of it. Um, but also, I have no hate for Bronny because you can't control who your parents are. Like you can't control, and just off of that alone, if your last name is James, so all the hate that LeBron get, you inherited that. Especially the second that he decided he wanted to pick up a basketball, and if he didn't want to play basketball, he would have got hate for that too. Because it's like, how could you be LeBron James Jr. and not want to hoop?
Exactly.
So, he was doomed before he could even start walking. Um, so I don't have any hate for Bronny. I think it's incredible to see a father and a son on the same team in the NBA. It's so hard to think about. But I also think that maybe not cool, but um, Rich and at least Rich, we haven't heard really reports of LeBron threatening for Bronny to go to Australia. It's more so been about Rich Paul, but um, you protect your assets. Like Rich,
Yeah.
like if I had somebody representing me and my vision was to go play for the Lakers with my dad, I wouldn't be super upset that my representation is aggressive about protecting, whatever my want is to play for that team. So I understand a little bit the frustration about the nepotism, but like you said, Trip, it's not new. It's
Yeah.
not new. Like you look at especially Lakers organization in general, the last name Bus didn't start with Jeannie Buss.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like
You
so.
got the whole Bus family as a part of the organization. Like that's what you do. The point is to put yourself in position so that you can put your family in position
Right,
after you to make their lives easier.
right,
And if you think that Rich Paul is the first and only agent that has ever said, "Don't draft my client because he's not going to play here," you are
exactly.
sadly mistaken. Okay, I can take you back to a number one draft pick in the NFL by the name of Eli Manning when they had to swap with San Diego because Eli said he wasn't playing in for the Chargers, and that's how he wound up being with the New York Giants. So let's not act like this is the first time something like this happened. Now we're in an era of social media where everything is going to be publicized. So maybe as a casual basketball fan, you may not know that these things happen all the time. But they definitely do happen. I'm gonna go to Antoine Pitt's comment here. He says, "Trip and Max, why when someone says the kid isn't good enough for the NBA is hate? He isn't good enough. Well, if he's not good enough, then why would it matter if Rich Paul said he's going to Australia if you drafted him? Because then nobody should be trying to draft him anyway. It wouldn't even matter, right? So we got to look at it like that. But I believe it was Nick Wright. I was listening to Nick Wright, and he was saying how there was a player that got drafted in the top 20 in the first round from overseas that's averaging 5 points a game. So if there's a guy that's good enough to be drafted in the first round, averaging 5 a game, and Bronny's averaging 4, and he's the 55th pick, he must have some level of NBA talent there. Now, yeah, I believe he's still a raw talent, but he's going to be in the best possible position to be successful with the Lakers.
I agree. I think so. I so with Bronny in particular, like this only worked because so let's say like this is the line for where you need to have this level of talent to get into the NBA. Even if Bronny isn't here, he's got to be like right under it because
Yes.
like teams are not just going to draft anybody. I know it's LeBron's son, but he has to be close to being good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take the fact that somebody is close to being good enough and pair it with the potential and the genetics of LeBron James, it's
You got to give it a chance at least.
you got to give it a chance at least. But so many draft picks are off of potential. Like that's why if you've ever heard about draft reports, one of the most important numbers on draft sheets is age, and they do it by days, like 21 years old, 5 months, and XM 20 days.
Yep.
Like that, it's all about the potential in what you pick. And the Warriors are a great example of that. Like they got Steph, they pretty much got a steal out of Steph, a steal out of Clay, a steal out of Draymond, and their potential, who it might not even have been, estimated for them to be this good. But their potential,
Round pick.
yeah, Jokic was fit. Jokic was a higher pick than Bronny.
Yeah.
Jokic
Yeah.
was like almost 60 or 58 or something like that.
Yep.
And he could have been a 4-time MVP, so like
And that's the thing, when you look at guys drafted in the second one, let's be clear. Now, I understand the argument a little bit if they with the 17th overall. I've been like, all right, now y'all just bucking.
I would understand that more. Yeah.
But let's be clear about this. It is a once in a lifetime anomaly that you get a Jokic drafted in the second round. Those are just the facts.
Facts.
Okay, if you lucky, you get a Draymond Green, you get a Gilbert Arenas. If you're lucky in the second round, but most of these guys in the second round fizzle out very fast.
Facts.
Okay, so if we could say a lot of these guys. I mean, I don't want to say trash, but not on that same level as some of the bigger name superstars. But they got that chance because they had the potential. They were right there. They were good enough to be in the draft, and I think Bronny was good enough to be in the draft. Let me put up Imani's question, and yes, Imani, I'm going to get through all the questions. Don't worry. So, Trip and Max, is he good enough in your eyes? Yes, he is. I believe he is good enough. Is he the best player ever? First of all, this was a weak draft class overall
Yeah,
from start to finish. But is he a prospect, an NBA prospect? Yes, I believe he is.
I definitely believe he's a prospect. Um, and if saying somebody's a prospect is just another way of saying they're good enough, because even undrafted players are good enough. By the way, there's only 60 spots, but that don't mean you're not an NBA talent. Like players come through the G League. Like we got Chris Middleton, who was
Hmm.
clearly good enough for the league. He didn't get drafted. He came. I don't think he got drafted. He came through the G League. Gabe Vincent, who tore it up in Miami last year and is on LA now, undrafted. Sean Kilpatrick played for the Nets
Hmm.
for a bunch of years, undrafted. There's a lot of players that don't get their name called in the draft, but are absolutely good enough. And the last thing I'll say about that is like for everybody who's got a problem with Bronny, you're gonna get a chance to see if he's good enough in a few weeks at Summer League. So your questions will be answered in a few weeks.
Exactly. And let's just say if Bronny feels, let's just say he runs through his rookie contract and then we don't see him again. Guess what? Probably 85% of guys drafted in the second round ain't gonna make it through their rookie
Yeah,
contracts and be
yeah,
playing.
yeah.
So what's the difference, man? Shout out to LeBron. He did what you were supposed to do. It's that what LeBron did. It's called being a good parent. That's what you do. If your son is there, and if your child is there, and you see they're right there at the finish line, and you can help, you help them. You get them across. You do what you have to do to help them fulfill their dreams, and that's what LeBron did. So shout out to both of those guys. Let me go to Scoop. Shout out to Scoop Poop. I like this question. How many dunk contest wins do you have in your career, and how many do you think you've been overall?
Um,
I'm
I was
keeping
thinking
track.
about the other day. Uh, probably probably been in maybe 15 to 20, somewhere around there. Um, how many have I won? Maybe maybe won like 10 to 12, somewhere around there.
What's
Um,
the percentage?
so I'm I'm probably maybe I would say maybe I'm like 12 and I'm probably like 12 and 8 or something like that. Like if there was like a record, like how teams have records. But I've taken my fair share of L's for sure.
Who's the toughest competitor that you went up against?
Um, Jordan Sutherland for sure.
Okay. Joe
His
Sutton was in Boston Peace Dunk
Instagram,
Contest too.
yeah. His Instagram is one for God.
Yeah,
But he's one of the best in my opinion. He's top three in the planet, NBA or not.
he actually won in Houston. He won the Ballin for Peace Dunk
Oh
Contest
yeah,
in Houston. So shout
yeah.
out to guy.
He's won all over the world.
Exactly. Let me go to Xavier Andrews' question. Max, when did you first start getting known for dunking? Did you always have hops?
um, 20 2016, I guess, was the first video that started to circulate. So I would say sometime in 2016, and then it started to increase once a few more videos started to like circulate on social media. Um, and then also when I got a chance to do NBA Live and 2K, like put my dunks in those games, I think that's when it really started to get a little bit more noticeable.
I'm gonna have you go a little bit more in depth because who Bowler Scoop wants to know what was the experience in making NBA 2K20 like?
um, that was so it was so surreal. I'm so glad that I hired somebody to film the whole process, just so I have it, for my own personal like archives, just whenever I want to reminisce on that. But I grew up playing NBA Live and NBA 2K, so to be able to play that game and now had or receive the opportunity to put my own personal likeness and my dunks in the game. It was such an amazing feeling. They have a studio with like 10,000 specialized cameras in there, and you put on this one like this giant bodysuit with these it's like motion sensors on them. They look like little dots, and you even have one like on your head too. And so it's like a all day process. They calibrate your movements. So you start out on like a T pose. They have you do a bunch of poses just to make sure that the cameras can pick up all of your like extremities. Um, and then they run through every dunk scenario. Fast break 1 foot, fast break 2 foot, off the backboard 1 foot, off the backboard contact, put back dunks, um, contact dunks, missed dunks, um, alley oops, like every single kind of category. And then you start to realize like there's a lot of different categories of this, and we always simplify it so much. So seeing how they've been able to make it thus far, and then also, like now that we're a ways away from 2K20, seeing a lot of people online talk about how 2K20 was one of the best 2Ks that there was, that makes me feel even better about it, because I know that I got to contribute even just a little bit to what it is. I'm not the reason why it's why people say it's the best by far. Like I don't think I'm any part of the reason, but the
Well,
fact
you are part of the reason because you're part of the game. So you
that
are part of the reason. You know what I'm saying? So
maybe in a small way, but I more so just mean like I think people love the gameplay,
yeah.
the advancements that they've been able to do with like online gameplay and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I ironically I don't play 2K. Like I haven't played 2K since 2K20.
That's
I'm
crazy.
not really much of a video game person, so that's why. But if I ever do get on 2K, I just I like go to the like shoot around where you can just kind of like shoot around by yourself, and I'll
Yeah.
just try to do all the dunks that I know that I put in the game.
All right, shout out to Kyrie Thompson. He says, "Where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years, future?"
3 to 5 years, I'll be married. Um, Hopefully, I'll be five, 5 or 6 more dunk contests in. I see myself being a 3-time Bowling for Peace champ. um, what else? What else? Kids. I don't have any kids yet. Um, and then yeah, I see myself doing more art shows. Hopefully internationally this time. Maybe I'll do some shows in like Senegal or where a lot of these other art capitals of the world are, Africa, Europe, stuff like that.
All right, let me see. Shout out to Will Gordon. What it do, baby? Hoop Central says, I'm a big street ball dunker fan. Tell me, do any of these names ring bells? Guy Dupoy? Am I saying
Mhm.
that right? Air up there. Chris Staples, Porter Mayberry. He was in one of the dunk contests too. Jordan Kilgannon. Give me your top 5 street dunkers. And did any of these guys inspire you dunk wise? And don't put yourself in this top 5.
Okay. Um, so I competed against Guy. I competed against Chris. I've competed against. I never competed against Porter, but he was my teammate on the Globe Trotters for a year. I know Jordan Kilgannon. Never competed against him. So I know all four. Oh, and Air up there. I know all. I guess it's 5 of them. I know all of them personally. I am the closest with Chris Staples. Um, top five, top 5 street dunkers. All right, I'm gonna say Isaiah Rivera, Chris Staples, um, Jordan Sutherland, and this is not in any order. This is just um, they're in my top 5. Um, let's see. I might put
Now one for God.
uh, yeah. That's one for God. Jordan Sutherland is one for God.
Okay.
Um, I might put oh my goodness, what's his name? Tony. I forgot Tony's last name. Tony Crosby. He's like 5'6", but he could do pretty much any dunk that all these names. Um, Tony Crosby, and then and so street dunkers. So they're not in the league. Um, I'll probably put Jordan Kilgannon at 5, or as
Now,
that fit, not at 5, but
who you taking out to put Maxwell Pearce in 5?
yeah,
You didn't put it in any
you,
order, so you can say who's
you're
coming out of.
making me 10 shots. uh, Probably Tony.
Okay,
Probably
all right,
Tony
Tony, you up out of there. I'm gonna talk to Ron about this because now we should have. I think there's at least 5 different winners. I think what we should do is if
Yeah.
you come back this year and get the three-peat, I think the next year we need to have Ballin for Peace dunk contest of champions with
That
all of
would
the
be
champions that have won, and then that way, if you three-peat, we definitely got to hang your jersey in the Raptors.
fire.
I think that would be crazy.
That I like the dunk contest of champions idea. That's fire. But I also want to judge, like especially if I get to that 3,
After
I
that, you
might
go.
I
If you
might
can
hang it up.
retire and judge, but if you
Yeah.
win this year, if you get back to back, and then we do the dunk contest of champions the following year, and you win that, then it's like, all right, now you retire, and then you got to come back and you judge the dunk contest with us.
Yeah. I like that plan. I like that
All
plan.
right, bet. Let me see what we got over here. Hold on. Okay, let me go back to Pooh. Shout out to Pooh. Pooh says, Maxwell, what are your hobbies outside of hoops and art? Is there something you will be shocked you do or like to do?
Um. So some like I guess these are more so like fun facts. I was in like competitive fighting for 11 years. Um, I know how to ride a unicycle. Um, I love chess. I was in a chess club and chess summer camp. Uh, what else? I'm a very picky eater, like awful. Um, those are probably the biggest 4 things.
All right, there you go. Hold on, let me throw Will Gordon's comment up here. Will says, Trip, you a Knicks fan, right? Brunson and Robinson were second rounders. First of all, Will, I am not a Knicks fan. I've been being nice to the Knicks this season, paying homage to my dad, who is a lifelong diehard Knicks fan. He passed away earlier this year, so that's why I was supporting the Knicks this season, hoping they could do something, in his memory. Eric is the Knicks fan on the show. I grew up a Michael Jordan fan, so therefore I was not a Knicks fan because you can't be both. You can't be
No,
a Jordan fan
no,
and a Knicks fan. But yes, Brunson and Robinson were second rounders. Obviously, we know who Brunson is. Mitchell Robinson, not so much. So that would still be to my point that most second rounders kind of fizzle out. Now you do have some that stick around and will have lengthy careers, but there aren't many MVP second round draft picks. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Jokic is the only second
it
round
might be,
draft that has
might be.
named an MVP, and you could probably count on 2 hands the All NBA players that have come out of the second round of the draft as well. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
There's not that many. Like that's
Oh,
guys they go in the rinse and come right back out. That's what it is. Let me go to Ron's question. Max, you look young, but what do you know about the GOAT, Michael Jordan? Best player I've seen. I asked a youngin about the GOAT. And is
uh,
Michael Jordan your GOAT?
oh man, y'all gonna kill me up here. So um, I think the debate is close. Um,
Hold on, let me
I
give you a solo
I
shot for this one.
cannot,
I need to see your answer.
I didn't get a chance to see Mike in real time, so I think that's important to say. but I do think that LeBron is the GOAT. But
Mm,
I'll
oh,
I'll,
they.
I'll give a little bit more context to why I say that.
Wait. Before you go into the answer, let me. The reason I'm laughing because they get at Eric and myself every week when LeBron James comes up in conversation to the point where we purposely did not put LeBron's name in the rundown for like 2 months straight. But every week the supporters would bring up LeBron, so we would still have to talk about LeBron James. So this is I'm loving this that you got LeBron as the GOAT. But continue.
Well, because I think it's clear. Like, I think there are other people in loosely in the conversation, but I don't think it's any closer than Bron and Mike. I don't like, and it almost, like resume wise, like I don't know who stacks up with Bron.
Well, all right. So here's the thing, right? Which is crazy because actually I do still have MJ as the GOAT, even though I feel like I'm going to have LeBron as the GOAT once he retires. But as
Okay.
of right now, I still have MJ as the GOAT. But the argument that people are going to make when it comes to MJ is they're gonna say, well, he was 6-0 in the finals. Because that's usually the go-to argument for people that say MJ is the GOAT. And for people like that, they they won't ever concede that someone else could be the GOAT anyway. So I don't really put too much on that.
Mm.
But I mean, you have to acknowledge what LeBron has accomplished and the level that he's been playing at and is still playing at. And just what we saw a couple of nights ago is even more of a testament to his greatness. The fact that not only is he going to be playing alongside of his son, but he is actually still a top 10 player in the NBA. That is unheard of.
I really do appreciate the way that you broke down this most recent accolade from this week, especially being the fact that you are a Mike fan as the GOAT over LeBron. I can appreciate the realism there because the fact that Bron is a top 10, top 15 player in the league, still averaging over 25, all while getting ready to play on the same team as his son. It's it's like it's so hard to express how ridiculous that is.
Yeah.
Like it's really crazy. But to go back a little bit to the finals thing, I think part of this is a two-part thing, and I'm probably gonna get killed for this too. But
Look, let me show you one of the comments. They already getting at you in the comments.
so I gotta say it like it is. The talent in the league now is significantly better than I'm not saying the talent in the league during Mike and his entire career wasn't, like the best of the best because it was the best of the best at the time. But with time comes an increase in, skill for everybody because technology gets better. Um, Access to resources gets better, so people are training more and in more effective ways, and with time comes more research, so you figure
Medical
out
advances and
better
things like
ways. Yeah, but also better ways to train. Like, I don't know if they had a shooting gun that could get you 1,000 shots in 3 hours. They used
that.
to be like, especially maybe before Mike, but people were catching and shooting, like rebounding for each other,
Yeah.
which would take longer. So you couldn't get 5,000 shots in a day. You probably get 2,000 shots in a day. Um, so it's stuff like that that I'm only bringing that up because it contributes to the advancement of the level of play in today's game. Um, and then the other example of that is like look at the bigs. Like you look at the bigs in Mike's era versus the bigs in bigs now. I can't even say LeBron's era because he's played in several different eras. But
Yeah.
um, I think that's a little bit more the reason why I'm a little bit more. And again, I have not watched Mike in real time, so whoever is listening to me talk right now, keep that in mind. But um, I am a student of the game, and I've obviously watched hundreds of Mike's games retroactively. But I don't think that I don't think that Mike had the opportunity to exhibit this kind of dominance in so many different versions of the game.
Mhm.
Like LeBron has been able to play against so many father and son duos, like Jabari
Yeah.
Smith and his son, um, Kenyon Martin and his son. Like there's just so many examples of that that prove LeBron was dominant when the players that he's playing against now weren't even born yet or were kids.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I think it's close, but I got Bron, and it's more so for the off the court reasons too, because what he's done with his platform as an athlete is crazy.
Well, off the court, I mean, I don't think it's even close. If we're just talking about off the court, if it wouldn't even be close.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say one more thing before I go to Kyrie's next comment. One thing, a lot of people will will say, "Oh, yeah, he got the scoring title, but he's been playing for so long." Yeah, that is true. But there's a lot of people that have had lengthy NBA careers and don't have the scoring title and don't have the accolades that LeBron James has. And I'm talking about even amongst the superstars that have lasted that long.
yeah,
For the most part, they kind of were dragging themselves across the finish line.
exactly. Even Mike, by the way.
LeBron is, yeah, exactly, even including Mike with the Wizards.
Yeah,
LeBron is leading the race
yeah,
still at this age. So
yeah.
we got to give him his flowers for that. Let me go to Kyrie's because I know they big mad now because you picked LeBron as your goat.
Uh,
Max, explain Braun's 4-6 finals record. Let me ask you, if you play more games in years, don't you have more stats? Then to me, MJ is more exciting than LeBron. And then he won 6 titles in 8 years. Yeah, before I'm gonna let you go, but before I let you speak, in order to get to that point, it takes a lot to get to 20 years and to still be great. So, but go ahead, Max.
um. So first of all, I'm gonna start with the explain Bron's 4-6 finals record. The fact that he got to the finals 10 times in 20 years is outrageous. And it's I'm so happy the way that the NBA is panning out the way that it is now, because it shows how difficult, like a super team does not guarantee finals. I think we've seen enough of that. Like we've seen enough examples of that. Like you got look at how Phoenix went out sad this year. Brooklyn didn't even make it. Um, we don't even know what Brooklyn could have been because they couldn't even get it together off the court. Um, the Warriors, there have certainly been years where the Warriors could have been considered a super team, didn't get it done. The Clippers certainly had enough star power to get it done. There's a lot of teams that you could argue. The Celtics in the last few years, there's a lot of teams that you could argue have super team potential, if not like a super team roster, and they haven't figured it out. So I definitely think that LeBron being able to do it go to the finals so consistently is is more of a compliment to his game than is an indictment. Also, because so much of getting to the finals and winning the finals is about health in the postseason, and then also like who is playing their best basketball in the postseason. Um, like when you look at LeBron's first finals loss, like you could break a lot of these down. Um, and like when they lost to Dallas, I think that was totally on Bron for sure.
Mhm.
But when he lost in 2007, when he was
I mean, they probably shouldn't even been in the finals that year.
they had
They
no business being in the finals, and he
Yeah,
was like my little brother's age. My brother's 21.
yeah,
Like, so like I don't get why people go so hard about that first finals loss in 2007 when he didn't have anybody worthy of note, maybe outside of Ilgauskas.
yeah,
Um, but he didn't really have anybody noteworthy on that team. Then he lost to the super team of super teams in Golden State with KD.
yeah,
Um, he beat the 73-9 Warriors coming back from 3-1. And I know people are going to blame the Draymond game, but they still had to win 4 games.
yeah,
Like at the end of the day, the Warriors lost 4 games.
yeah.
Um, and then I'm trying to be as concise as I can, but I
Let me say this, Max, because one of the things that you said, and I think people just look past this because they'll gloss over certain things, right? You said the team, right? So finals is about your team, right? Look,
like
and I
every
always I ask people if when Jordan came back after the retirement, right? They lost to Orlando that year. If the Bulls don't retool and go out and get Rodman and Ron Harper and Tony Kukoc and the rest of those guys, do they win again? I don't know. Because they wasn't winning with it before they got those those guys and made those additions. So you know what I'm saying? We don't know. With championships, it's about the team award. And if we are talking about if the GOAT conversation is gonna solely be based off of championships, then Jordan wouldn't be the
yeah,
GOAT because then it would
right,
be Bill Russell.
right,
So
yeah.
it is what it is. We start getting through the rest of these questions. Uh Will Gordon says Bigs don't play now. They're on the wing and shooting threes. Yes, that is true. But and I think this is in regards to what you were saying about the competition with in MJ's era and now. And yes, that is true. MJ's era was the era of big men. However, I think Grant Hill would probably be the first kind of prototype of the players that we see now, as far as all of these wings, like the LeBrons, the Durants, the Paul Georges, the Kawhis. I think um, Grant Hill would probably be the first prototype for that in a two-way player, and he was one of the more dominating players. Obviously, before the injury started to kick in during that era, and at that point they didn't see anybody that looked like the athletes that we're seeing right now that are elite two-way players on the wing, can score from damn near anywhere on the court and can play lockdown defense. You didn't have that during MJ's era. So I do understand where you're coming from when you're talking about the difference in level of competition.
I think like when so this comment says bigs don't play big now. When bigs did play big, the game was way more simple. The game was so much more simple. It's like the bigs have no business being up top
Mm-hmm.
around the top of the key or the 3-point line. They know to stay in their place. That's in the paint, around the block, around the rim, um, which makes again because it's simpler. Like by default, it is that much easier, especially when you're guarding teams because you don't even like. Do you ever see how people play Giannis and they give him 15 feet of room because they know he's not going to knock down a shot?
Yeah.
Uh, like it's easier to guard teams. Like
Shaq ain't stepping out to shoot a three.
Shaq ain't stepping out. David Robinson not stepping out to shoot threes. Like Yao Ming not like there's it was just so much more simpler. But now you have bigs who, if they get switched out on a guard and they're on offense, they could score it from out there, and
Yeah.
vice versa. You got bigs who, if defensively, if they get switched out there on a guard, they could hold their own. So because of that, the game has to be more difficult. Um, But yeah, it's like it's now the game. It's a guard heavy game, and bigs are just bigger guards, really, for the most part in the league.
Yeah.
So
Let me hoop ball is cool. Before you get to the unread questions, Trip, what does he mean about the bigs in MJ's era? It was better bigs in MJ's era. Who's the bigs today? Just Embiid. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That MJ's era was the era of the dominant big man, but now where we have positionless basketball, the league has changed. Now I would say that the wings have taken over with the
yeah,
big man the most dominant. Now it's the wing players that are the most dominant players because they're height wise they're right in the middle between everybody, and then for the most part they're on the two-way side of things where they play offense and defense.
time out. I don't think I've ever disagreed with something more with
Which
not with two trip with it was better bigs in MJ's era. Okay, so let's look at the last 7 MVPs. Jokic 3 times, Embiid 1 time, Giannis
twice.
twice.
Hmm. I
I
mean,
one for
now
this.
granted, I'm gonna tell you the pushback they're gonna say is, well, MJ won all the MVPs at that time. That's I already know that's what they're
Sure,
gonna
but like getting can somebody name me some other bigs that were like MVP candidates at least or MVP winners in Mike's time, like
say.
perennial candidates.
I would say Malone, because he was MVP,
Okay, Karl
and
Malone.
I guess you technically would have to count Charles Barkley as a big man because he was playing power forward, even though he was only 6 foot. So that's what I'm saying. But but technically he was power forward, so you would have to count him, and
Okay,
then
we can throw Charles in there, sure.
I would say Hakeem and Shaq, even though Shaq was kind of towards the end of
Yeah,
MJ's
yeah, yeah. He was towards the end of MJ,
Jay's run.
but like,
But yeah, I would say Hakeem. But again, even to your point, we're having the discussion now as to whether or not Jokic is a top five big man right now,
yeah,
or all time
of
top
all
five
time,
big
yeah.
man, and he's not even anywhere close to being done with his playing. At least I don't, if as far as age and whatnot, he's not even close to being done with his career. And we're talking about, I think we had the discussion a couple of weeks ago as to if if Jokic wins another championship, is he top five big man all time? So
Like, I don't, I just don't, I don't understand. So I think when people say bigs, it depends on what generation you grew up watching basketball and what play style you're talking about. Because like
yeah,
if you ask a 20-something-year-old what does a big man in basketball look like, he's probably going to reference Joel Embiid or like somebody from this era, which is a completely different play style of a big than like a Shaq or Hakeem or pretty much anybody prior to like 2007.
yeah. Let me throw Will Gordon because he says the Dream, the Admiral, Zoe, Matumbo, Shaq, and multiple power forwards. Is this really a discussion? Well, first of all, again, Shaq was towards the end of MJ's playing career. Zoe, as much as I love Alonzo Mourning, and shout out to him because I know he had a medical situation and he's
Yeah,
good
I saw
now.
that. I
But
saw that.
Alonzo Mourning was not an MVP candidate. Matumbo was definitely not an MVP candidate, so you can cancel him out as well. David Robinson was a great center, but if I'm not, David Robinson doesn't have any
Oh,
MVPs. And again, we mentioned Hakeem Olajuwon, who was that guy, and then does have 2 rings and 2 finals MVPs.
yeah.
Um, so
Yeah,
um,
he's named great players. It's not that they're not great players, but we're talking about MVP candidates. They didn't even have to win because yes, Mike took all the MVPs, but like they're not in the discussion for the most part in the voting for it. Like the last 10 years of MVPs to date, has been overwhelmingly controlled by the bigs in this league.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Let me go back up top so I can just make sure. Let me just run through. You know what? Let's do this. Let's knock out this Duke question really quick. Shout out to Ron. Did y'all
Oh,
see with your Duke guy Kowski? How his mom and brother says his girlfriend groomed him, and he has nothing to do with his family because of her. I did see the story. That's It's always man, because I don't want to be like a double negative. I don't want the ladies to get at me. Um, I I would have to hear him speak on it to say whether or not if he really felt like she was grooming him, and I mean, was she really grooming him, or was this just the normal of a superstar athlete who has whatever access to whatever woman that he wants to have, and they trying to get to the bag and be there? I don't think I don't think she would be any different from the girls that we see, like what we see with the NFL players on draft night, and the mom be trying to push the girls out of the shot, and they still trying to get back in the shot.
I'm doing that.
You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's any different. I mean, grooming is it's kind of crazy to think about that, but I would need to hear him speak on it a little bit more to see, because I don't know, is it grooming, or did they just was they just together, and sometimes that happens where you see a person will be in a relationship with someone, and they'll start rocking with that person more. Maybe the parents don't like that person, and that causes them to be with that person even more. So I don't know. I would need to hear him speak on it really to say.
Yeah, I don't know what situation they're talking about, so I'm not even gonna comment.
All right, let me see what else we got here. Let me see. Hold on. So I see some comments coming in. Take hold on. I don't even know. I would have to look this up. Let me just throw this comment up really quick. Moise Gene Felix breaking news: Seattle Supersonics. Wait, what? Oh my goodness! Get out of here with this nonsense. Isn't that Michael Porter's brother? That's the one that was doing the gambling. Yeah, you
Yeah,
oh
John.
my.
His name was Jonze, I think, Porter.
Oh,
But
here's
yeah,
the yeah. Let me go back. I'm gonna take that question right now, Curry. I just gotta find it. It was a question about Chris Staples. I think I lost the question. Hold on. I got y'all. Don't worry. Oh, here we go. Scoop Hoop. Shout out to Scoop Hoop. Was Tammy Bronner and Chris Staples with the Trotters when you came?
no, they left probably a year or two before I got there. I got there in 2018. I think they left in 2016 or something like that. I know of Tammy. I don't know Tammy personally though.
Okay. Let me go. Shout out to Xavier Andrews. Top five in-game dunkers. This is for both of y'all. Max, I'll let you go first.
Top five in game, Vince Carter.
I think that's
Uh,
that's, that should be the unanimous number one of all time. Just with that Olympics alone.
um, uh, Sean Kemp.
Mm.
Um, Derrick Jones Jr.
Top five. That's
Uh, let me see. Um, maybe I'm trying to think of players that I've seen do a variety. Aaron Gordon, um,
okay.
Gerald Green.
Now Gerald Green was a beast. All right, so I'm gonna say obviously Vince is number one, no debating. And if you say otherwise, you just gotta leave. Don't even be around me. I'm gonna say T Mac. I'm gonna have him in my top five. I'm gonna put Blake in my top five because I didn't see him
That's
do
a
some
good candidate.
Space Jam dunks on guys. I'm gonna put Jason Richardson in my top five in
Mm,
game dunkers. And you know what, man? I don't care what y'all say. I'm putting LeBron in my top five end games dunkers because
That's not a bad answer.
the dunks he threw on KG and Duncan
PG,
and
John Lucas,
you know what I'm saying, the JJ with the Jet, you know what I'm saying,
Jason Curry. Yeah,
and Jones. LeBron done baptized a lot of
yeah,
cats
he did.
in this league. So I'm gonna put LeBron in my five. Justin Frizione, he says, Max, who are some of the most famous NBA players that you have met?
LeBron, Steph Curry and his family, Klay Thompson. Um, um, who else? I didn't get to meet Kobe, but Kobe did get a chance to react to one of my dunk videos in 2020.
Hmm.
Um, I, Donovan Mitchell, Tracy McGrady, Kenny Smith, Shaq, Chuck, um, The Dream,
I say
uh,
Larry Johnson.
Larry Johnson. Larry, that was my first time meeting Larry. He does the contest. He does the Hoops in the Sun contest.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, that's true. That's true. Yep.
um, yeah, there's been a lot of players. I mean, there's none really bigger than LeBron. But I don't know why it keeps happening.
Is that LeBron?
Yeah, I don't think there's none bigger than LeBron.
LeBron James. Let me go to Antoine Pitt's question. Where's Kobe on your all time list?
um, 3.
Three. You got him as third overall. All right. So you got. I'm just going. You got LeBron, then Mike, then Kobe. Just want to make
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Listen, I know the Kobe people in the in the chat is loving that answer. Shout out to the
They
Mama
might
Russell.
not. I'd be like Kobe fans got Kobe at 1, so I don't know.
Oh yeah.
They might
Like
cook me for that too.
Kobe fans are serious, man. They
Yeah,
don't play around.
yeah.
Let me before we get ready to wrap. Let me just say a couple of other things in the NBA. The Knicks trade for Mikal Bridges. So he will be coming across that bridge to play in MSG. They also re-signed OG Anunoby. Will they re-sign Hartenstein? That's the next big question for them. Also, DeJounte Murray is headed to the Pelicans. He was traded for Larry Nance Jr. and a couple of picks, and I think one other player. The Warriors waived CP3, and James Harden and Westbrook re-signed with the Clippers. Paul George did opt out. He's going to test free agency, but he may wind up um back with the Clippers. And I want to get your take on this, Max, before we leave. Big shout out to Angel Reese. She has now the single season
So,
double streak record. I believe it's 11 right now and counting. So big shout out to her. What are your thoughts on what's been going on with the NBA this year? The influx of superstars like Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark.
um, it's just it's great to see how their game is blossoming, and increasing in popularity. Rightfully so. It's long overdue. Um, I'm a little. I got like mixed feelings about what's happening, and what I mean by that is more so like Caitlin Clark brings a lot of good things to women's basketball for sure. Um, but some of my favorite athletes growing up understood their power and their platform, and how they could potentially influence the game, but also life outside of the game, whether it's their own fan base or things outside of that. So Muhammad Ali is a great example of that. One of the greatest, the way that he's been able to vocalize about issues in the real world, while leveraging his platform as one of the greatest boxers, is why I love Muhammad Ali the way that I do. Same thing with LeBron, Serena Williams. There's a lot of athletes who understand um, how they can use what they've built for the advancement of society as a whole. I I would like to see Caitlin Clark use her platform to um, directly speak more to the divide, the racial divide that is happening. I think a lot of Caitlin Clark's fan base is responsible for a lot of like racial microaggressions and like things like a lot of the Angel Reese hate and just hate for other black players in the W, like Kennedy Carter earlier in the year, Asia Wilson, like all of these terrible things that we see about a lot of the black women in the W um, come from a fan base that's very similar to Caitlin Clark's, and I think she has the power to kind of put that fire out, but she has yet to do that. So I would like to see her do that on a routinely basis. And I think a good example of that is Paige Beckers. If you ever watched Paige at the ESPYs when she received her ESPY, the words that she spoke about black women that played before her and everything, um, that's more so what I'm looking for from Caitlin Clark. And it's, someone who understands their power and their leverage as an athlete who's able to bring this many eyes to a game. And oh my gosh, I don't know why everybody's calling me. I'm so sorry, bro. But yeah,
who do you think is leading the Rookie of the Year race right now in the
uh,
W?
Rookie of the Year, I'm gonna say Angel. Honestly, especially with what you just brought up today. I mean, with what you just brought up just now, like
The double streak.
I think the double streak, in addition to like Cameron Brink, unfortunately, is out of the
Yeah,
conversation. But all the
yeah.
big time rookies, like their teams are doing so. So at that point, you have to judge based off of whose team is doing the best out of all those so teams.
Mhm.
And to my knowledge, it's close between the Fever and the Sky,
Yeah.
but I would probably give it to Angel Reese because I think she's been able to contribute in more ways, and I do think that she had a better start to her WNBA career as well. She's been consistent from start until now.
Right.
Caitlin Clark is
And she's getting better too.
she's getting better for sure, but she started
Right.
off at a good place.
Yes, I agree with that. I see you guys in the comments with the Chris Paul back to the Suns. I don't is that official? Because I haven't seen an alert on if that is actually official. I do know he was waived by the Warriors, but I didn't know if that was official yet. If he was going to be back to the Suns, if he does go back to the Suns, actually, I would like that for the Suns because one of the things that Eric and myself spoke about at the beginning of the season in regards to the Suns and why we felt that they weren't going to be successful was that they didn't have a floor general. So even though Chris Paul is again another year older, as far as just being able to run the offense, he's still going to be great at that. And then when you have two of the top players in the league, with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, I think it can work. I think they still need some defense because Chris Paul ain't locking nobody up at this point in his
Yeah, he's
career.
39.
Um, but offensively, and just as far as to get them settled on the offensive side of the basketball, I think it will be a huge upgrade to get Chris Paul back. And let me take this last one, and we're going to get into the final thoughts segment. Trip Hoop Baller School. You on that Shaq Jordan thing? Post that before y'all go. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Are you talking about the situation where they was talking about they was padding MJ's stats for defensive player of the year? Is that what y'all talking about? Because if I say anything disagreeing with Mike actually being the MVP, y'all gonna get at me. So I'm gonna leave that one alone. So we have actual proof. Even though I've seen it being talked about on several different media outlets. And it did seem a little sketchy when they was breaking out. There was one game, what was it? MJ had like, or over, he had like a streak of 12 games, and there was one game where it was he had more steals than the team had turnovers. So that is a little bit weird, but again, I'd have to do my research before I can really comment on that. Hold on, they say go to Hoop Baller Scoops comments. Which Hoop Baller Scoop comment was there? All of Jordan six. Oh, okay. I see what he said up here. Hold on one second. Hoop Baller Scoop Trip Shaq was there for all Jordan's 6 titles. He came in '92. So yeah, I want to count Shaq as a big of that era. Okay. When I said he came at the end of the era is because when I was comparing him to guys like Hakeem, like David Robinson, like Patrick Ewing, and all of those guys who actually came into the league in the same time as Jordan. Jordan had by 92, you know what I'm saying? Jordan was in the league 9 years at that point already. So that's not really, you know what I'm saying? Like,
And
so
also Orlando Shaq was how many years?
that was 4 years. Was it the first 4 years? And Orlando Shaq wasn't an MVP.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm assuming we're talking about Lakers Shaq.
Yeah, but then if you're
Talking about
talking
prime
Lakers
Shaq.
Shaq, then it doesn't count because
The end.
that's a different. Yeah, that's
Right.
the end of Jordan's career.
Right.
So he's talking. Yeah. We got you hoop ball school. Jordan was there 5 out of 6. Yeah, but again, that was still, you know what I'm saying, he wasn't Diesel yet. He wasn't the big Aristotle when he was playing in Orlando. That came when he got to LA and got with Kobe and got with Phil Jackson. That's when that came. Max, you want to give us a final thought?
Final thoughts. Overall or about this topic?
Just overall, just a final thought overall.
Overall, it was good to be back here. I mean, the last time I was up on the show was the first time I did the Ballin for Peace contest, which was 2018. So it's been like 6 years. It's crazy. Always a good time chatting with you, bro. And I'm looking forward to being on here next year after the 3 after I get number 3.
That's a fact, man. Max, we appreciate you. You know, and I'm glad you were able to get up here this week because like everybody we heard when we say we're gonna have a guest. I mean, not that it happens all the time, but it happened before where we, somebody was a guest and we we let everybody know like this. For the most part, the guests that we have on the show are people that we consider fam. You know what I mean? Like we have relationships with the guests that come on the show. It's not, I met somebody here and I got a PR's card and they said you can call us and give you. You know what I'm saying? We have relationships with these people, but I'm glad that you were able to get back with us and answer the questions from the supporters. I told you before we started, they do their homework, so they're gonna ask me questions that I didn't even know or think about asking. But I truly appreciate you and congratulations again on you're not only the first ever Ballin for Peace dunk contest champion, you are now the only 2-time champion. At this point, you've been taking all our money, man. You're taking all our money, man. Come on, man.
That's funny.
But we leveled up. I think the first year was only we were only giving away $250 that first year.
Yeah, I think it was $250.
We don't, you know what I'm saying? We got
doubled it.
We've been working. Eric and myself, we definitely
see it, and I appreciate it.
You know what I'm saying? So again, congratulations, and again, and on the engagement, congratulations, man. That's a beautiful thing. We wish you and your fiance a lifetime of happiness together. We're gonna have to schedule something again before the summer's out when Eric is back on. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So we can catch up one more time. I know the fans would enjoy that as well.
For sure.
With that being said, make sure you guys are following us on all of our social media. Instagram, Twitter at Real Fan Talk, Facebook.com/Real Fans Real Talk, and of course, subscribe to that YouTube channel, YouTube.com/For the Fans Productions. And do not worry if you're not in the New York City area on Thursday nights and you can't watch us on Verizon 43 from 8 to 9 p.m. You can still watch us from anywhere in the world. Just go to realfansrealtalk.com, click that red button on the home page, and watch from anywhere in the world. And make sure you guys are subscribed to both the Sanchez Show and the Real Fans Real Talk podcast. New content dropping every week. Maxwell, before I let you go, just let everybody know where they can follow you at. Well, don't follow him, but on social media, see what he got going on.
For sure. Any and every platform is at Maxwell Pearce. Pearce though, not PIE.
Got you. Hey, hold on 1 second, Max. There was actually one more question
For
about
sure.
the Globe Trotter schedule that I do want you to ask. Hold on 1 second. I think that was Imani that had that question. Okay, here it is. What's the travel like with the Trotters? Okay, in a week's time, how many different cities do you go to, or how many games played in a week's time?
Travel schedule is unreal. We so my rookie year we probably played 121 games in like the span of like 6 months. So we're probably playing 5 to 6 games a week, and that's a different city every game for the most part. So like we might only be in a city for half a day and we're off to the next one. So in the span of a season we could be in 45 out of the 50 states and maybe 7 countries. So it's really and it's a crazy adjustment, but once you finally get adjusted, travel is like, especially a one-time trip, is nothing. It just kind of feels like breathing. It's just like natural.
Got you. We're gonna be on the lookout for Maxwell Pearce with the Globe Trotters and his next dunk contest. With that being said, for myself, Trip Young, the family, Maxwell Pearce, appreciate you, man. We up out of here.
My God, appreciate you, bro.
Peace. And we are.